Is this the director's cut?
It is.
The long version.
Yeah.
Well, that's an amazing story in itself, you know, because we had a preview in San Jose or some godforsaken place, and I said, don't put it in a Cinerama Dome because I want it to ruin the image, and of course they put it in the Cinerama Dome. So at the end of the screening, there was nobody left in the theater except the Fox people and me. It was a disaster. Then I recut it, and we previewed it in Denver. Pretty good reaction. Then I made a big mistake. I recut it and didn't preview it, and we opened cold. Oy. That was the worst version. Then after that, it was a disaster. It actually did business at the Radio City Music Hall. Then I said to Alan Ladd Jr. By the way, the studio loved the picture because they could see all the numbers in one. There was no dailies that they had to piece together. It was all there, so they thought it was great. But they were dissuaded from that belief by the reaction. Anyway, the version that was shown open was the worst version. Then I went back to Hollywood and I said, let me cut it again for TV. So I recut it again for television. And then for years, people would come up to me and say, why did they hate that picture? It was a nice picture, it was fun. I said, I don't know, anyway. They didn't like Sybil and me being happy. So then about, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago now, as you get older, the years go by quicker. So a few years ago, anyway, 5 maybe, somebody says, oh, Netflix is running At Long Last Love. I said, oh, really? So I tuned it in, and I'm watching, and I said, wait a second, I cut that scene. Why is it in there? Why did I cut it? Another scene comes up. Well, what's this? Where'd this come from? I cut this. Jesus Christ, why did I cut it? It's good. And the whole thing was a cut I'd never seen. So, which you just saw. So I called somebody at Fox, and I said, where there's a version on Netflix. Where did that come? Where the hell did that come from? They checked, and they said, well, that's a cut that a guy named James Blakely did, who was I had Final Cut by this, so they weren't allowed to do this. James Blakely was the head of cutting editorial at Fox for a number of years. He had died 2 years before this phone call. It turns out he was a guy who had worked in some Cole Porter shows when he was a kid. He loved Cole Porter, and he evidently recut the picture the way he thought it ought to be, and he was right. So then we screened it for an audience in somewhere down south, Texas, I think. Anyway, it was a huge success. People loved it. Then we screened it in Hollywood, which is always dangerous. But we screened it in Hollywood at the Fox studio, and it was, again, a huge success. And I said, Jesus Christ, we should thank Jim Blakely. I thanked his wife. And I remember Jim Giannopoulos, who was the head of Fox at the time, calls me up and he says, or I called him and I said, geez, this cut is great, you know. And I told him, he said, let me get this straight. This is a cut that you had nothing to do with? I said, yeah. And, well, it's similar to my first cut, but not exactly. And you like it? I said, yes. Well, this is one for the history books. The director likes a cut he had nothing to do with.